while so many major catalysts are bubbling. And you're about to see, they dropped 3 major things all at once, and maybe even 4 here. I have a few articles here. It always happens this way. Just pay attention to that. Anytime there's a lot of distraction, there's something major going on elsewhere. They make a noise over here to distract you and draw your attention over here while they do something over here. I promise you. We've seen this time and time and time again. We've been through these energies time and time and time again. And it always turns out the same way. If we stick to the research, we know what's coming. So why is this being brought up right now? The major catalysts haven't changed. What am I talking about? This article is titled it's titled XRP News. They always put XRP News there. Ripple CEO Garlinghouse pushes for tokenization, but it's not him that's speaking about this right now. We know he's doing a whole bunch. He's been doing a lot of interviews. He's been speaking a lot and pushing RWA, but that's not anything new to us. They were some of the originals. Ripple was the first I saw pushing for RWA. BlackRock was the second. But look at this being highlighted. That's what's important here. It's being highlighted by who? It's being highlighted by John Deaton. It says here, John Deaton is quoted, quote, Brian Armstrong, Coinbase. I don't know why I pronounced it like that. My apologies. Brian Armstrong, Coinbase. I'm just inserting the Coinbase. Brad Garlinghouse and Larry Fink are just a few. Isn't this what I've been saying? You see how I'm saying it, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere, you'll have these very popular people come out and say and iterate the same thing because it's true. Because this is a major catalyst. This is a focal point. So it's not only individuals such as myself highlighting it. There's the popular section is highlighting it also. But most people are not listening. This is a catalyst that cannot be denied. This is a catalyst that makes that price explode. That's why it's so hot right now. All of these different industries making movements to tokenize everything that they can. They're looking into it. Everything. And you have the bank coin companies at the forefront of it. Nothing has changed that trajectory. Nothing. I mean, if you can show me, please provide that evidence. I'll take a look at it for sure. But wait, they're just a few of the biggest names in crypto finance to talk about how all RWA will eventually be tokenized. It's an inevitability. For these industries to go to the next level, they need the utility coins. They need bank coin technology, blockchain, DLT, hash graph. They need it. They're going to make money off of fragmentation or fragmental, selling of buildings, houses, farmland, commodities, everything, folks. Stock market, everything. I couldn't even fathom how much more is going to be tokenized. That's trillions upon trillions upon trillions of dollars. That's what they want. Money talks. They want that value badly. That's why they're speeding towards this. This is why John Deaton is like, wait a minute. He's seeing what's going on. He's seeing the distraction. And he's coming out and saying, wait a minute, look at this. This is what's really going on, folks. Are we really taking our eyes off the ball? That's what he's saying. I'm not. I'm on it. With an eagle-like vision, I'm on it. He says, meanwhile, and Garlinghouse has more to say. People don't see that RWA explosion coming in the future. Listen, I could be wrong. It's my humble opinion, not financial advice. One massive explosion in interbank payments, another massive explosion B2B, another massive explosion RWA. Everything else will result in rises in price. In my humble opinion, there's other catalysts, very powerful catalysts. But those other catalysts are just sprinkles on top of a massive cake that is comprised of RWA, interbank payments, B2B. Trillions, 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 folks. That's what they're trying to get into right now. Everyone's getting positioned as we speak. But anyway, Garlinghouse emphasized that, quote, real world asset tokenization is reshaping finance. We don't even need him to tell us that because we've read it from the financial industry leaders themselves, from the large central banks. We've read the documents, the articles every day, every other day. They're not difficult to find. They're not. We've read it from the large business owners. Now we're hearing it week after week from the small and medium-sized business representatives. We're hearing it constantly. We just read an article the other day. They need DLT, they need AI, smart contracts, all this stuff. They're worried about costs. We know that. We've been reading it. So we know. But here comes the distractions. Oh, this going on in the world and that. Okay, those things are relevant, sure. But that does not mean that I take my eye off of the goal. No, not whatsoever. I'm not one to be distracted. It's all, and here's the other thing. Aligned with that distraction, if you're perspicacious enough, right? Pay attention to what's been happening. What's the other articles that have been coming out? I've been talking about this. They're telling the businesses to buy. They're telling large asset managers to buy. They're telling nations and banks. They're trying to convince them to buy while they're turning retail away. You're seeing articles pop up all over the place. I've never seen anything like it. If you're doing a lot of research, you're seeing these articles. You know it. And they're telling them to buy. So while retail is selling, while retail is in a panic mode, while retail is giving up their position, and maybe they have good reason to do so, to each his own. I'm just positioning these pieces to convey a point. While that's all going on, the large actors of the financial industry are dominating and taking over crypto. And so when that massive explosion comes, will some of retail benefit? Yes, for sure. There's a lot of wise people in retail, sure. But majorly, the businesses will benefit. The banks will benefit. The nations will benefit because they understand what's to come. And they're gobbling up crypto. They're positioning themselves to dominate one way or the other. They know the golden age is coming and nothing's going to deter them. You see their activity. Okay, so wait. So this is what the rest of what Garlinghouse had to say. Quote, real world asset tokenization is reshaping finance, making traditional assets more accessible and efficient. You have to always look into this wording: accessible, easier to buy, more value will come in. This is their way of saying it'll be easier for that value to flow into our company everywhere else. They don't care about people having accessibility. They don't. Come on now. It's a business that's made to bring in value. They are worried about making a lot of money. A lot of value. So when they say accessible, yes, it bends that way, but it also bends another. A shield has two sides. A double-edged sword cuts this way, or it can be used to defend. It cuts this way, cut that way. It can be used to attack. It can be used to defend. There's always a reverse side to every shield. So what's the reverse of this accessibility being positive for retail? That the companies will be able to access value and have value flow into them that they couldn't have before. This is logical. This is logical. And it says here, and efficient, which means there's going to be a continuity. They're expecting, if something's efficient, there's a continuity. If there's a continuity when it comes to value, then there's going to be a necessary rise in price. Simple as that. Anyone who's erudite enough understands this. So now, that's one thing. Let's go here. What's this other thing here? Now, let's find out what's going on, because if this is true, this is very interesting. This article says Ripple CEO asks IMF if they'll hold XRP. He knows they can't answer that. They will never tell you the truth. It's like BlackRock or anybody else before Bitcoin was ready to explode and pop off. Nobody was talking about Bitcoin. We're not sure about Bitcoin. We're not going to hold Bitcoin. How many of these billionaires and all these large asset managers were talking negative about Bitcoin only to unveil or reveal the truth in the end that when they were speaking bad about Bitcoin, literally they told us they were actually buying Bitcoin at the time. They literally told you after they already profited from it. One of the people, if I remember correctly, look this up for yourself. One of the people who did that amongst many was, what's the individual? He's known for, what's that television show that people were watching? Shark Tank or something like, what's it? Kevin O'Leary, I believe his name is Kevin O'Leary. He was one of the people, but he wasn't the only one that literally said that. I'm not quoting it verbatim. You got to go read the articles for yourself, but just type that in on Google and you will see. But anyway, It says here, this is what the article says. Look into this for yourself, okay? Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse has elated enthusiasts as he asked the deputy general counsel in the International Monetary Fund legal department, Ross Lacal, whether they have an interest in holding XRP. Well, what is the response? In an ex-post shared by analyst Zaif, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, this discussion occurred at the Singapore FinTech Festival, so now you can look into it. Lacal, who prefaced his response, highlighted that he does not want to delve deep into the IMF's position. Didn't I tell you they can't answer that question? They can't answer that question. They're definitely not going to tell you no. There's no way. Listen, if you go back like maybe 3.5 years, you're going to find a video on my page where I broke down how the IMF began. I broke down the similarities between the IMF and Ripple in their startings in SDRs and in XRP, the similarities there. There's so many similarities, it's unbelievable, but you'll find out. Look at the date on that. Just look at the date on that video. If you find that video, look at the date on it because it's still there, right? But because of that, I say that to bring us to this point. The IMF understands the power that Ripple may be grabbing coming up very soon. They understand a position may be accomplished that they could not do themselves. The IMF has not been loved. There's never been loved. They've been rebelled against. They've been losing power. They understand Ripple at its extreme neutrality can achieve a position much higher than the IMF could have ever imagined. That comes with a lot of value that they're about to make. Power and value. Also, the IMF understands, and they have many wise people there, albeit they may not do the wisest of things or the most good things, for lack of a better word, but they understand that it may be in their best interest not to step on Ripple's toes because and I believe, humbly, Swift will work with Ripple and a cadre of other Bankcoin companies. But like Swift and like the Bank of International Settlements and the ECB as well, Bank of England, that they also, the IMF, may have to work with Ripple or one of these Bankcoin companies, most likely Ripple. They've had a good relationship with Ripple over the years. Go to Google and type in Ripple and IMF and see what pops up. Or then try Ripple and IMF relationship, see what pops up. Type Ripple and IMF speeches or meetings or IMF mentions XRP. Type those type of things in and just you have a little bit of free time and just give a read. Just give a read. And you will see that there has been a relationship, albeit quite covert relationship, kept very quiet, between Ripple and IMF for many years. That is a fact. To what degree that's going to be maximized in the future, who can know that? Who can know such a thing? However, they cannot say such a thing right here where they're like, well, we support XRP. But I'll say this. If you're witnessing what's happening with Bitcoin right now, all right, forget all the different things happening in the market. Look at the catalyst. The nations are not going to turn their back on such a moneymaker as Bitcoin, are they? No matter what's happening. That has remained. States are trying to figure out ways to utilize Bitcoin. Nothing that's happening right now is going to change that either. So that remains. There's two catalysts that remain. My apologies. I'm sifting through my thoughts. So my point is, I can just use those two major catalysts. If you go down the list, make a list of all the major catalysts that you've seen for Bitcoin. None of those major catalysts have changed. They have all remained, and in each day they become stronger. So these entities plan to feast on Bitcoin. Now, wait a minute now. Yes, Bitcoin can make a lot of value, but now let's look at the bank coins, who, despite even now with certain turbulence going on, sit at a very good price, much higher than it was in the bloody bear market. Not bad, if you ask me. In the bloody bear market, we saw hell. And we faced it with confidence, and we marched out of that. So this is nothing new to us. Those who had, treaded that harsh path to where we are now. But even now, at those prices where everything is now, is nothing compared to what should be coming. I'll say that way. What should be coming. If everything is actuated properly. There's no way. We're talking about the biggest possible explosion of all time. And yes, you could disagree with me. Plenty of people do. I have no problem with that. I have to always say that because there's always people they're going to want to argue. They're going to want to say, oh, no, I don't believe it. I know you don't believe it. You told me a bunch of times. I know. I get it. I respect that. I also appreciate you having discourse with me as well. Whether you disagree or not, it's okay. It's just like boxing or wrestling or something like that. Sometimes I'm going to win. Sometimes you're going to win. I don't feel anything about it. I do things for a much deeper purpose. So I can respect the disagreement. No problem. But nonetheless, it does not deter me from my own thoughts. And from all the catalysts, the biggest explosions of all time are at hand with XRP and Chainlink, Solana, other bank coins, Algorand. All these things have the potentiality. You just have to watch what the companies are doing. Some are more potent than others. But it's up to the people to look at them and say, what are these companies doing? What projects have they been working on? You can only know the potency of them by looking at what they're doing. How many companies are going to be building on this or using this, or the excitement around it from retail? Yeah, you can factor that in as well. Some people like that. I prefer to, rely on large businesses and banks, etc., because that's where the real money is. It's more certain than retail. That's why I focus on that. So now I need to move on. Let me not get too joyous. So the IMF, it's no doubt in my mind that when XRP really skyrockets, it's taken off a multitude of times. It's made people a lot of money a multitude of times. All of these bank coins have at this point. But anyway, no doubt in my mind, when the major explosions come, they will take part in it. I don't think they have to tell anybody. I don't think they're going to. They're not that type of organization. They're not. They're all about keeping themselves as shadowy as possible. And the only thing they let you know is they have power. They come and offer a country a loan or something like that. And once you take that loan, they bend you to their will. That's how it works with them. So, yes, I believe they're going to not hold XRP. They're going to trade XRP. They'll buy some. How long does it have to be for you to consider that someone's holding it? There's been so many debates and arguments. It's nonsensical to me. Is it 2 months? Is it a year? Is it 2 years? Like, what difference does it make? They bought it and they sold it. Does it matter if you held it for a week or if you're a central bank, let's say, or a powerful financial entity? Does it matter if you held it for a day versus a year? Either way, that activity, which is going to be major because they're not there to move a small amount. They wouldn't be there to move to make pennies. No. Either way, that's going to be impactful. Isn't that what's important? People are worried about the impact on price at its substance, at its essence, right? So what difference does it make? But yes, there's no way. If you're a money maker, whatever's making money, you're going to go there and you're going to maximize the value you can get out of it. When has it ever changed? When there's capital to be made in gold, they go with gold, just like China is doing right now. They're smart. They understand what's going to happen despite any turbulence. They understand what's going to happen with gold in the future, and silver as well. But when there's money to be made with gold, people go towards gold. When there's money to be made in everything else, they go towards that. Art, they go towards that. So why would XRP, crypto, be any different when it makes more value quicker than anything else ever? And it hasn't even had a major pump from the industry just yet. Not yet. So now we go here. Let me cover a little bit of Bitcoin. I have more articles here. We have gold, China. We have an article about China. Keep an eye on China. I'm telling you, when it comes to commodities, But let's go here. A little bit of Bitcoin news, okay? This article is titled, if it'll let me arrive at the top, White House official confirms Bitcoin crypto holding reports are due tomorrow. What is this all about? It's still unclear if the results will be public, especially since the order doesn't necessitate their public release. A report on what? What is happening? What's going on, folks? Federal agencies have a deadline on Monday to report their Bitcoin and crypto holdings to Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. A White House official confirmed with journalist Eleanor Tourette today. Oh, so we're going to find out what people are holding, what the governmental officials are holding. Is that what this is? This is about? I'm scrolling down. I'm trying to get to the crux of this. Based on data tracked by Arkham Intelligence, the U.S. government currently holds 198,012 Bitcoin worth over $15 billion in one wallet. How much do they hold that people don't know about? There's so many, what do you call that? Levels where even some of the government officials are not allowed to know certain things on certain projects, or one knows about this aspect. They're not allowed to know any more than that. And this one knows about that aspect and not allowed to know any more than that. I'm pretty sure that whatever's financing those projects, that capital they cannot allow that capital to be traced. I'm not beyond believing that there's Bitcoin that they'll probably be moving and holding and using for certain things where they don't want that traced or tracked in any type of way. It'll probably be moved through a variety of different, I'll call it capsules, right? Before it ends up where it's supposed to be. And people would never even know. But this is what they're showing the people. This is what I'm saying. This is the apparent. There's always the unapparent, right? If I'm using that correctly. So it says, apart from Bitcoin, the government also owns ETH, WBTC, BNB, and TRX, among others. The altcoin holdings are valued at around $380 million. Do you believe that's all they hold? You believe that? I don't believe that. I mean, I could be wrong. This is what they're showing. So someone will be in their right to say, hey, this is the facts. This is what they showed. That's what they're showing. It's not necessarily mean that that's all there is. We have plenty of airplanes, but we do know that there's plenty of planes that were worked on and were put to work. And they were never announced to the public for years and years and years. It doesn't mean that they didn't exist. They definitely existed. A lot of projects are like that with the government. A lot of things, finances that go poof and they say, well, we lost it. We don't know. That's just what they tell the public. They know where it went. Come on now. You know where it went. But this is what they present to the public. So no, I don't think that's all that there is to it, but I could be wrong. So now that's a little bit of Bitcoin news. So that'll be interesting to see what comes out. Okay. Gold. I want to cover gold with this little bit of time left. People have been talking about gold a lot. I told you I'm not worried about gold at all. No matter what happens long term, I'm not worried about gold, not one little bit. That's just my way. Doesn't mean you have to agree. You have to believe those things at all whatsoever. That's not my position. That's not what I do. China's central bank buys gold for fifth month as prices rally. This is coming from Bloomberg. All right. This is coming from Bloomberg. Look, the important part of that title is just they're buying for the fifth month. Now, what typically happens, China will buy. Then they'll do a little bit of selling, right? Other countries will sell a little bit as well. They always do. They sell a little bit more consistently than China does. But China is, I'm going to tell you, when it comes to this, they understand the fiat currency problem. Everybody has it. This is why one example, this is why you hear Europe talking about stable coins and such and positioning the whatever they're going to digital euro, whatever they're coming out with, positioning that so that it can compete with the dollar. Did you see those articles? Dollar dominance. Listen, the only reason these countries have to think like that, I'm using that as one example. They have to think like that is because there's a fiat currency problem. So because there's a multitude of problems with fiat currency right now. Multitude, folks. So that's why they're all fighting so viciously. So they're all protecting themselves with gold. When the world is in fear, gold thrives. I'll leave it at that. So now that you have that information, what are you going to do with it? I know what I'm going to do with it. So until next time, everybody, let's get to the money.